Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today I wanted to create this little message, and by the way, I'm really sorry that I'm a little, late. Typically I post on Tuesdays, but this week I just could not come through for a video because I wasn't feeling well and just felt guided to take some time for myself. But the video that has been on my mind, I am releasing now for Friday, which is about releasing the judgment of others and how important that is on your spiritual journey. Now, this doesn't matter how you go about your spiritual journey, doesn't matter how fast or slow you're evolving, but eventually, if you are trying to unite with the divine, which is basically in everyone, in everything you see, because the existence is not without God. It is, everything you see is just a unique expression of God. The only difference between us and other people that we see, whether we like them or whether we don't like them, is just simply the state of our consciousness and at the rate that we are all evolving. Now, somebody who has had 10 human lifetimes is going to be not as evolved as somebody who's had 50. So you have to really take that into consideration. Now, as long as you were unconscious, not on a spiritual awakening journey, it was okay to judge others, to have an opinion, to be able to gossip freely. But when you finally realize the path that you're on, you realize what it is that surrounds you, the other people, whether they feel evolved, not evolved, you need to release that, free opinion that you may have about other people and really judging them for who they are. Now, unfortunately, what happens is we are all human beings. We've had a certain amount of, patterns leading up to the point that you may be on your journey. And it was okay to operate the way that you did. And from the outside looking in, we often actually expect every human being, right? Because that's what you call them, human beings. So we expect that a human being should be operating at the same level of awareness as possibly us. But we know that that's not the case because everybody is evolving differently. It's based on the lessons that they go through, the patterns that, exist in their lineage, how far they are with their evolution journey. And so we can expect people to think, act, dress, behave in a way that aligns with our own understanding. It's just not possible. Now, nobody's really asking anybody here to kind of, wake up and be perfect overnight when you're on a spiritual journey, but it's simply to be more aware when certain old patterns come up. And one of them will be that, lens through which you view other people in the world. When you are on that spiritual journey, you have to shift that perspective to everything is consciousness and everything is just evolving at a different rate. And with that, when you finally look at that, you will have more empathy, you will have the compassion, you will have a better sense of awareness and understanding for those around you in your environment. Now, if you are somebody who's been on the awakening journey for some time and you're working through your old patterns, you can actually really appreciate how hard and difficult it can be to break away from your old egoic identity and how long it takes you to really understand your shadow elements, to be able to integrate that onto your journey so that you can make a shift. So given that process that you've gone through, recognize that other people that are still struggling haven't even come to that state yet. Mostly when people go through a spiritual awakening, you have been snapped out of your state because of some form of, a forced event or circumstance that really snaps you out of your way of being, which is a huge blessing, whether you recognize it or not. So when you see other people struggling, not being at your level, understand that they have not yet come across that blessing in their life. They are still caught up in their, unconscious patterning that they yet have to break free from, so that they can, finally reach a level that you are at. Now, if you are actually someone that has actually experienced a small glimpse of oneness, even a little bit through meditation or through your Kundalini awakening, or, inner reflection, you can actually begin to understand why people behave the way that they do, what they're really doing, how they're evolving the way that they're evolving. But if you have not, this is still something to really prepare for. Understand what your goal is in spirituality. You are trying to unite with the divine. You are trying to understand that oneness. And so, not being, I guess, a representation of that unity, even though you're not yet aware of it, is kind of moving in the other direction. Simply because when we judge others, we are essentially saying, I believe everything is connected. I believe God is everywhere and in everything, but I'm still going to make that, choice to separate myself from everything and everyone and those people that I do not like. So you can't have one without the other, right? If you are working towards unity, if you are working towards, that universal consciousness, then you have to appreciate the uniqueness that everybody has to bring, the rate that they are evolving at, and that eventually everything is meant to move towards that universal consciousness. And until then, we just have to appreciate other people's journey. And the way that we can help is to understand that unity because we are on that path, and to really release that judgment. Now, this may come up for you several times as you are working through your awakening journey. But the key here is to remember that state of awareness and to keep continuously, when these sorts of patterns come up, to disrupt them, to make sure that you are actively choosing when it comes up, even if you've caught yourself in the moment, to make sure you take a pause to move away from that sort of habit and that pattern, so that you can eventually move towards that unified goal, that higher state of consciousness, and to really move towards that inner union and divine union. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.